I prepared the list of 5 people killed by Putin's order. First off, we have Alexei Navalny. Famous opposition leader and anti-corruption activist, he had a YouTube channel where he published videos about corruption in Russia and promoted his campaigns. He successfully held many anti-government demonstrations with over 20,000 participants. He announced his participation in the presidential elections in 2018 and was considered the most viable contender to Vladimir Putin. The first incident happened on 27th of April 2017 when Navalny was attacked by unknown assailants with toxic green dye, causing him to lose 80% of sight in his right eye. Police did not help him uncover the culprits, but his viewers managed to find camera footage and identify them. They were a part of a radical pro-Kremlin group, Alexei Petrunko and Alexei Kulakov. They did not suffer any consequences. 3 years later, on August 20, 2020, Navalny fell ill during a flight from Tomsk to Moscow due to being poisoned with Novichok. He was hospitalized immediately after an emergency landing and fell into a coma in Omsk hospital. After 2 days, he was transported to hospital in Germany, and on September 7th, after 18 days, he got out of coma. On the 17th of January 2021, Navalny came back to Russia, but after arrival, he was detained at passport control. The Russian Ministry of Justice stated that he would be tried in court for violating the term of probation by leaving Russia. He was sentenced to jail for 2.5 years, which was later extended by another 15 years. During his sentence, he was constantly tortured. Prison guards were waking him up 8 times a night, and he didn't have a proper diet. He suffered from health problems including loss of sensation in his spine and legs. Doctors were forbidden to visit him, and he lacked basic medical treatment. On February 16, 2024, Navalny died at the age of 47. His funeral received massive support from not only all Russia but the whole world. It also caused a wave of anti-war, anti-Putin protests across the country. It's undeniable that Alexei Navalny shaped the Russian opposition and can be called a hero. Alexander Litvinenko was a Russian security agent specialized in counterterrorism and organized crime. He was recruited first by KGB and later moved to FSB. Litvinenko published a number of allegations about the Russian government, most of which are related to conducting or sponsoring domestic and foreign terrorism, such as connections between FSB and Al-Qaeda, Putin's relations with Russian mafia, 2005 bombings in London, Armenian parliamentary shooting, and many more. He accused FSB of corruption and publicly shared his view. On November 1, 2006, while he was investigating the assassination of Russian journalist Anna Politkovskaya, Litvinenko became seriously ill. He was poisoned with radioactive polonium-210 on a meeting with Russian agents in a London hotel bar. It is said that Litvinenko solved his own death, reporting detailed information of places he might have been poisoned and people who did it. Alexander Litvinenko died 3 weeks after the incident at the age of 43. Before his death, Litvinenko said, "You may succeed in silencing one man, but the howl of protest from around the world, Mr. Putin, will reverberate in your ears for the rest of your life." Sergei Skripal was a military intelligence officer working first for Russia in the years 1990-1995 and then for the United Kingdom as a double agent. He was able to acquire and pass tons of state secrets, mainly the identities of Russian intelligence agents, including ones working in UK. He reportedly blew the cover of 300 Russian agents, which made their arrest possible. In December 2004, Skripal was arrested outside his house in Moscow shortly after returning from Britain. He was sentenced to 13 years in a high-security detention facility, but in 2010 he was freed as part of a spy swap and moved to UK. On 4th March 2018, Skripal and his 33-year-old daughter, Yulia, were victims of poisoning with Novichok nerve agent. An eyewitness in an interview reported, "The man went stiff, his arms stopped moving, but he was still looking dead straight." He described Skripal's daughter's eyes as wide open, but completely white. Fortunately, 3 weeks later, they were out of critical condition, and after some time, they recovered. After the incident, Skripal and his daughter probably moved to New Zealand under new identities, and now they are living a simple life. Yevgeny Prigozhin was a famous Russian businessman that cooperated with Putin to the point where he was referred to as Putin's chef and had a good relation with him. Prigozhin was a leader of a Russian private military company, Wagner Group, which played a crucial role in the 2022 invasion of Ukraine. He received massive support from authorities and was personally reporting news from the front line. During Ukraine's counteroffensive, Prigozhin criticized the Russian Ministry of Defense for poor preparation of the attack and said that disputants should go to the front. In February 2023, Prigozhin accused them of not providing ammunition to Wagner detachments.
А теперь слушайте меня, сука, блядь. Это чьи-то, блядь, отцы. и чьи-то сыновья, и те, которые не дают нам боеприпасы, будут в аду жрать их потроха, У нас нехватка боеприпасов 70%! Шойгу! Герасимов! Где боеприпасы? Посмотрите на них,
On 23rd of June 2023, he released a rather shocking video where he claimed that Ukraine war justifications were false and the invasion was designed to further the interests of the Ministry of Defense and Russian oligarchs. He accused the Ministry of Defense of attempting to deceive the public and the President Vladimir Putin of shaping Ukraine as an aggressive enemy. A day later, the Wagner Group returned to Russia and Prigozhin was immediately called a traitor by Putin. 2 months later, on August 23, 2023, Yevgeny Prigozhin died in an airplane crash. According to people from the Wagner Group and US officials, the plane was probably shot down by Russian air defenses. It was later discovered that the kill was ordered by Putin's Security Council chef Nikolai Patrushev. He denied the accusations. Once a Russian Federation's hero, Prigozhin became a victim of his own allies. Boris Nemtsov was a Russian liberal politician in the post-Soviet era. In the 90s, he worked in the government of Russia bringing free trade and anti-corruption reforms. In 1997, he became first deputy prime minister of Russia, but in opinion polls he had 50% support as a potential president candidate. After a year and a half, he was forced to resign his position. During 2004 Ukraine presidential election, Nemtsov shared a lot of support for Viktor Yushchenko, pro-Western candidate who became a president of Ukraine. Nemtsov was among the 34 original signatories of the online anti-Putin manifesto Putin Must Go, published on the 10th March 2010. He was also a big Putin's critic, especially after the annexation of Ukraine Crimea in 2014. He publicly accused Putin of media censorship, corruption and even insanity. On the February 10, 2015, Nemtsov wrote on a Russian website that his 87-year-old mother was afraid Putin would kill him. A week later, he met with an old friend, editor of the New Times magazine, Yevgeny Albatas. In an interview, Albatas said, "He was afraid of being killed and he was trying to convince himself and me they wouldn't touch him because he was a member of the Russian government, a vice premier, and they wouldn't want to create a precedent. Because as he said, one time the power will change hands in Russia again and those who served Putin wouldn't want to create this precedent." 2 weeks later, on the 27th February 2015, just before midnight, Boris Nemtsov was assassinated, shot several times from behind near Red Square in Moscow. Russia propaganda methods are no different from the Soviet era. Most opposition leaders and journalists are either dead or in prison, and it won't change unless we overthrow Putin. If you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe to see more content. Thanks for watching.